The sleek obsidian ships of the Nevarin Collective darkened Earth's skies in 2147, their imposing silhouettes casting long shadows over major cities worldwide. Hovering silently over population centers, they made no hostile moves, yet their presence alone sent global markets plummeting and religions into crisis. After 3 days of silence that stretched humanity's nerves to breaking point, they finally made contact. Ambassador Threll, with his translucent blue skin and 4 calculating eyes, materialized directly inside the United Nations Security Council chamber, bypassing all Earth's defensive measures as if they were children's toys. His elongated form towered over the assembled world leaders, tentacle-like appendages moving with unsettling grace. Your species has 60 days to accept protected status or face necessary correction, he announced, his words somehow perfectly translated in each listener's mind. The Nevarin Collective has observed your development and determined your integration is required for galactic harmony. Admiral Elena Reyes, representing the newly formed United Earth Defense Force, stood to address the alien diplomat. At 53, with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen every Earth conflict of the past 3 decades, she showed no fear. "We appreciate the Collective's interest in Earth," she replied, her weathered face betraying nothing while her mind raced with possibilities. "Humanity will consider your generous offer carefully." Threll's upper eyes blinked in what might have been amusement. "Consideration is unnecessary but permitted. We will return in 60 rotations of your planet for your formal submission." With that, he vanished as suddenly as he had appeared. Within hours, Reyes activated Operation Thunderbolt, a contingency plan decades in the making. Her hypersonic transport landed at the Himalayan complex, a facility buried deep beneath the mountains, unknown to the public and, hopefully, to alien sensors. They detected nothing. Reyes asked Dr. Haruki Nakamura, lead scientist of the quantum shielding program. "Our quantum disruption field appears effective against their scanning technology," Nakamura confirmed, leading her through laboratory chambers where technologies beyond public knowledge hummed with potential. "They believe us to be centuries behind their development. And they'll continue to believe that." Reyes nodded, watching as scientists and military strategists gathered in the central chamber, their faces illuminated by holographic displays, showing the positions of Nevarin vessels throughout the solar system. Every public channel will show our apparent preparations for surrender. Meanwhile, in Earth orbit, the Nevarin observation vessels methodically catalogued human infrastructure. Their scout ships ventured further into the solar system, documenting colonies on Mars and mining operations in the asteroid belt. They found exactly what they expected, a species just beginning to reach beyond their homeworld, using fusion drives and conventional weapons. Lieutenant Commander Zhou Wei, stationed on the lunar outpost, watched the alien vessels through high-powered telescopes. "They're not even trying to hide their survey," he reported back to the Himalayan complex. "They're confident, arrogant." "Good," Reyes replied over the secure quantum channel. "Let's hope they remain that way when they meet our response." During the following weeks, the Nevarans sampled Earth cultures with amused condescension. They wandered through museums in Rome, observed classes at universities in Nairobi, and analyzed manufacturing processes in Singapore, all while their massive ships remained positioned over major cities, a constant reminder of their ultimatum. Behind this facade of inevitable conquest, humanity's greatest minds worked tirelessly in hidden facilities across the globe, coordinating through quantum-encrypted networks. The countdown had begun, but not to surrender, to the unveiling of humanity's true technological capacity and the shadow fleet that would carry it into battle. Deep within Jupiter's churning storms, where detection was impossible, the 7 Nemesis-class warships hovered in their construction cradles. The gas giant's turbulent atmosphere created the perfect cloak, a natural stealth system that had hidden humanity's greatest achievement for the past 15 years. Captain Sanjay Mehta walked the gleaming corridor of the flagship Humanity's Resolve, his fingers trailing along the quantum mural interface panels. At 43, His once black hair now showed streaks of premature gray, a testament to the loss that had driven him to this moment. The ship responded to his touch with subtle pulses of blue light, almost alive with possibility. "Status report," he requested, entering the bridge, a spherical chamber unlike the traditional command centers of previous Earth vessels. Here, crew stations floated in a three-dimensional arrangement, allowing for optimal neural interfacing with the ship's systems. Lieutenant Sophia Chen, operations officer, gestured at the holographic displays surrounding her station. "Final calibrations of the phase shift drive are complete, Captain. Quantum shielding at 97% efficiency and climbing." "The other vessels?" Meta asked, settling into his command interface, a semi-reclined position that would allow his nervous system to partially merge with the ship's quantum processors during combat situations. "All reporting ready status," Chen confirmed. The defiant logic, impossible dawn, human spirit, tenacity, adaptive resolve, and unconventional solution are all running final checks. Meta nodded, studying the real-time feeds of Nevaran ships positioning themselves around Earth. The aliens had increased their presence daily, their fleet now numbering nearly 200 vessels, a show of force meant to intimidate and overwhelm. They had no reason to scan Jupiter's atmosphere. Their intelligence suggested humans had barely managed to establish outposts on Mars. In his private quarters later that cycle, Meta studied a hologram of his family, his wife Priya and daughter Leela. Their mining vessel now just scattered atoms in the asteroid belt after a navigational accident that had Nevaran energy signatures all over it. The collective had been quietly eliminating human ships that ventured too far for years, testing Earth's capabilities while disguising their actions as accidents. "Not this time," he whispered as Jupiter's storms raged outside, providing perfect cover for humanity's secret weapon. The ship's communication system chimed softly. "Admiral Rice is ready for the final briefing, Captain," his executive officer announced. In the secure briefing room, Admiral Rice's hologram stood before the assembled commanders of the Nemesis fleet. Though physically still in the Himalayan complex on Earth, her presence filled the room. "The Nevaran deadline arrives in 48 hours, she stated. "Their ambassador will return expecting our surrender. Instead, they'll witness our response." Her eyes moved from captain to captain. "You've all been chosen not just for your tactical abilities, but for your capacity to think in ways the collective cannot predict. Your ships represent not just our technology, but our humanity." Commander Yuki Tanaka of the Unconventional Solution leaned forward. "The simulations suggest they'll have no effective countermeasures against our quantum phasing technology." "Simulations are not reality," Rice cautioned. "The Nevarans have conquered 17 known species. They didn't achieve that through incompetence." Captain Meta nodded. "We understand the risks, Admiral. But the Nemesis fleet represents something they've never encountered. Technology developed not through rigid specialization, but through cross-disciplinary collaboration." "Precisely," Rice agreed. "Where they compartmentalize knowledge, we synthesize it. Each of your vessels incorporates art with science, philosophy with engineering, music with mathematics. The result is something truly unpredictable." As the briefing concluded, Meta returned to the bridge, watching Jupiter's magnificent storms swirl around them. The massive planet had sheltered them during development, and now it would launch them into humanity's most crucial confrontation. "Prepare for departure sequence," he ordered. "It's time to show the collective what humanity is truly capable of." The Nevaran deadline arrived with ceremonial precision. 200 warships arranged themselves in a display of overwhelming force, their formation creating a perfect geometric pattern above Earth, a living museum exhibit of superior technology and tactics. Their hulls gleamed with an iridescent metallic sheen under the sun, weapons ports visibly open in a calculated show of intimidation. Admiral Zex Terrell stood on the command platform of his flagship, the inevitable dominance, his four upper limbs clasped behind his carapace in a posture of satisfied anticipation. Earth had made no attempt to evacuate population centers or position their pitiful defense satellites. Their response was clear even before the formal surrender. "Open communications channels," he ordered, mandibles clicking with amusement. "Let us receive their submission with appropriate benevolence." On Earth, in a public display broadcast globally, world leaders assembled in Geneva to present what appeared to be terms of surrender. Simultaneously, a series of apparently feeble defensive platforms activated around the planet, their primitive energy signatures barely registering on Neveran sensors. "How quaint," Zex Terrell's second-in-command observed. "They wish to maintain the illusion of resistance for their population." The Admiral's response died in his throat as proximity alarms shrieked across the command center. Sensor operators chittered in confusion as anomalous energy readings appeared near Jupiter, followed by spatial distortions that their instruments couldn't properly interpret. The 7 Nemesis ships emerged from subspace, their hulls shifting like liquid metal, appearing impossibly inside the Neveran formation. The Humanity's resolve materialized directly behind the Admiral's flagship, while the other 6 vessels positioned themselves at critical junctures throughout the alien armada. "Impossible," Zex Terrell hissed. "No species at their development stage could possess phase shift technology." Before he could issue orders, targeted quantum beams sliced through their supposedly impenetrable shields. The beams didn't destroy. They precision-targeted propulsion and weapon systems, effectively neutralizing rather than annihilating their targets. On the bridge of the Humanity's resolve, Captain Meta stood within the neural interface field, his consciousness partially merged with the ship's quantum processors. Through this connection, he perceived the battlefield in dimensions beyond normal human senses, directing the ship's movements with thought rather than spoken commands. The defiant logic and unconventional solution report successful targeting of enemy command vessels. Lieutenant Chen reported. 23 Neveran ships disabled. No casualties on either side. Meta nodded, watching through the ship's sensors as the perfect Neveran formation dissolved into chaos. Their rigid command structure was breaking down without clear instructions from their superiors. The alien vessels attempted to regroup, firing energy weapons that dispersed harmlessly against the quantum shields of the Earth ships. "They're adapting," Meta observed as the Neveran vessels began to alter their shield frequencies. "Just as we expected." "Implementing countermeasure sequence beta," his weapons officer responded, fingers dancing across holographic controls. The Nemesis ship's systems had been designed to evolve during combat, each encounter feeding new data into adaptive algorithms. The human spirit, under Commander Okonkwo, executed a daring maneuver that appeared to violate known laws of physics, seeming to split into multiple images before reconverging behind a cluster of Neveran heavy cruisers. Pinpoint quantum torpedoes disabled their engines in precise, surgical strikes. "Neveran Admiral requesting communication," Chen announced with surprise. Meta disengaged partially from the neural interface, returning more of his consciousness to his physical form. "On screen," he ordered. Admiral Zex Terrell's insectoid features filled the display, his compound eyes reflecting a mixture of rage and bewilderment. "What manner of deception is this?" he demanded. "Your species cannot possess such technology." "Perhaps," Meta replied calmly, "you should reconsider what humans are capable of. We request your immediate withdrawal from Earth space." The alien admiral's mandibles quivered with barely contained fury. "This demonstration changes nothing. You have merely awakened the full might of the collective." As the communication ended, Meta re-engaged with the neural interface, directing the Nemesis fleet to continue their precisely choreographed dance through the disarrayed Neveran forces. This was only the beginning, but humanity had delivered its answer to the ultimatum, not with words, but with undeniable action. The neutral station Harmony served as the meeting ground, its transparent dome offering a view of the disabled Neveran vessels being towed by smaller Earth ships. Originally a research outpost in Earth orbit, the station had been hastily repurposed for this pivotal diplomatic encounter, its central chamber adapted to accommodate both human and Neveran physiologies. Captain Meta sat opposite Supreme Admiral Zex Terrell, whose chitinous exoskeleton could not hide his agitation. The Admiral's attendants stood rigidly behind him, while Meta was accompanied only by Dr. Isabel Santos, Earth's foremost xenolinguist and cultural specialist. How did primitive humans accomplish this? Zex Terrell demanded, his translator device conveying both his words and his barely contained fury. Our intelligence indicated your species was at least a century from developing quantum field manipulation. Meta nodded toward Dr. Santos, who activated a holographic display between them. Perhaps your assessment was based on incomplete information, she suggested, her voice calm but firm. The display showed the design process of the Nemesis fleet, a chaotic, interconnected web of contributors from diverse fields. Artists collaborated with engineers, philosophers with tacticians, musicians with scientists. The visualization zoomed in on a particular quantum shielding component, showing how its final design incorporated elements from classical architecture, fluid dynamics, and even musical harmonics. This is disorder, Zex Terrell stated, compound eyes narrowing at the display. Technology development requires specialized expertise and hierarchical implementation. That approach serves the collective well, Meta acknowledged. But humans evolved differently. Where you see specialists working in isolation, we see connections between disciplines. He gestured to a specific node in the display. The breakthrough in our phase shift technology came when a composer working with quantum theorists identified a pattern no specialized scientist recognized. She compared it to a Bach fugue, interwoven melodies creating something greater than their individual parts. Zex Terrell's upper limbs twitched in what Dr. Santos recognized as disbelief. Impossible. Your ships were designed by military engineers, as are all warships. Your ships were, Meta corrected. Ours were crafted by everyone from quantum physicists to classical musicians, from children's toy designers to deep-sea explorers. We don't separate knowledge into rigid categories. Dr. Santos added, human innovation thrives in the spaces between disciplines. We make connections where specialized thinking sees only separation. The holographic display shifted to show the Nemesis ships in action, their movements almost organic compared to the mechanical precision of Neveran vessels. Our neural interface systems allow our captains to become partially integrated with their ships, Meta explained. We don't just pilot our vessels, we experience them. Zex Terrell rose abruptly, towering over the humans. This methodology is inefficient and chaotic. It cannot compete with the full might of the collective. Yet here we are, Meta replied simply, gesturing to the disabled Neveran ships visible through the dome. The Admiral's compound eyes focused intently on Meta. You disabled our vessels rather than destroying them. Why? Because we don't seek domination, Admiral. We seek understanding, even with those who threaten us. Zex Terrell's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign Dr. Santos had identified as contemplation. Finally, he spoke. The collective has encountered 28 species across this galactic sector. None have refused integration. None have demonstrated your methods. Perhaps that's why we surprise you, Meta suggested. The Admiral turned to leave, his attendants falling into perfect formation behind him. At the chamber entrance, he paused. This display of technology changes nothing. The collective does not tolerate anomalies. After the Nevarans departed, Dr. Santos turned to Meta. He's going to call for reinforcements. Yes, Meta agreed, watching the Admiral's shuttle return to his flagship. And next time, they won't underestimate us. What neither mentioned was the quantum transmitter they had detected activating from Zex Terrell's ship, a signal strong enough to reach across thousands of light years, calling the full might of the Neveran collective to converge on Earth. Earth transformed into a planet-wide innovation engine as the Neveran Grand Armada approached. Shipyards on the Moon, previously disguised as mining operations, revealed their true purpose as construction cradles for 15 new vessels based on Nemesis technology. Engineers worked in continuous shifts, their efforts fueled by the urgency of survival. In the Mediterranean Underwater Research Facility, Dr. Amara Okafor led a team adapting the quantum shielding technology for broader deployment. Her fingers danced across holographic schematics, making minute adjustments that rippled through the entire system. The shield harmonics are unstable beyond 70% capacity, one of her engineers reported, frustration evident in his voice. Dr. Okafor smiled unexpectedly. Perhaps instability is exactly what we need. She stepped back, gesturing to a cellist seated in the corner of the laboratory. Marina, play that Bach piece again, the one with the unpredictable key changes. As the music filled the lab, Dr. Okafor adjusted the shield frequencies to match the mathematical patterns in the composition. The simulation stabilized, showing a 30% improvement. Musical mathematics, she explained to her bewildered team. Patterns that feel intuitive to humans, but appear chaotic to the Nevaran analytical approach. Similar breakthroughs occurred across Earth and its colonies. The AI cores of the original 7 Nemesis ships communicated their combat experiences throughout the human network, evolving their tactical algorithms hourly. Unlike traditional battle computers, these systems incorporated emotional responses, intuitive leaps, and even dream state processing during low-activity cycles. In lunar orbit, Captain Meta observed the retrofitting of civilian vessels with derivative Nemesis technologies. The Humanity's Resolve had sustained minor damage during the first engagement, now fully repaired and enhanced based on combat data. Nevaran Scout Force detected approaching Mars colonies, his communications officer reported. Meta nodded. They had anticipated this. Testing probes to evaluate Earth's defensive capabilities. Order the orbital platforms to reveal only standard defense systems initially, he commanded. Let them think they understand our capabilities. The Nevaran Scouts, a squadron of 5 sleek vessels, approached Mars with predatory confidence. Their initial scans detected conventional defense satellites with predictable weapon signatures. As they moved to neutralize these defenses, the satellites suddenly reconfigured, their energy signatures shifting to patterns the Nevarans had never encountered. The Mars Defense Coordinator, Commander Diaz, watched from his underground bunker as the platforms adapted to each Nevaran attack, reconfiguring their defenses after each hit. Earth scientists had programmed them with evolutionary algorithms based on the Nemesis fleet's experiences. They're retreating, Diaz reported to Earth Command. After losing 2 vessels to defenses they believed they had neutralized. Admiral Reyes received this news in the Himalayan complex war room. They're learning about our adaptability, she observed, but they still don't understand its source. On screens surrounding her, millions of citizens worldwide contributed to the war effort through a neural-linked simulation network. People from every profession, age group, and background offered tactical scenarios and engineering solutions that fed directly into defense planning, the ultimate expression of humanity's collaborative approach. Captain Meta, meanwhile, took the Humanity's Resolve through a series of tests in the asteroid belt, pushing its phase-shifting capabilities to new limits. The ship executed a revolutionary maneuver that allowed it to phase partially through solid matter while maintaining structural integrity, something previously thought physically impossible. The Nevarans think in straight lines, he told his crew as they analyzed the test results. We need to think in curves, spirals, and paradoxes. As Earth prepared, long-range sensors detected what everyone had feared, a massive surge of faster-than-light signatures at the edge of the solar system. The Nevaran Grand Armada had arrived, bringing a force that would darken the skies above Earth with 5,000 warships, each more powerful than anything humanity had faced in the first engagement. The Nevaran Armada materialized as a constellation of artificial stars, their 5,000 ships blocking out the light of the real ones. They appeared simultaneously in a perfect 3-dimensional grid formation spanning Earth's orbital plane, a display of coordination and power meant to extinguish any hope of resistance. From the observation deck of Lunar Base Alpha, civilians evacuated from Earth watched in terrified awe as the enemy fleet took position. The 22 human vessels, 7 original Nemesis-class ships, and 15 hastily retrofitted vessels seemed impossibly small against the overwhelming Nevaran force. Admiral Rice stood in Earth's unified command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing every aspect of the coming battle. Her weathered face remained impassive as she studied the enemy formations. Their positioning for a standard encirclement, noted General Okonkwo, representing ground forces. Their tactical approach hasn't changed despite our previous encounter. They believe their numbers render innovation unnecessary, Rice replied. She opened a secure channel to all Earth vessel commanders. This is Admiral Rice. We face overwhelming numerical superiority, but numbers alone do not determine outcomes. Her voice remained steady, carrying the weight of humanity's future. Forget defending Earth. Take the fight to their command structure. Aboard the Humanity's Resolve, Captain Meta absorbed the Admiral's orders as he synchronized with his ship's neural interface. His consciousness expanded through the quantum processors, sensitivity heightened to a degree impossible for unaugmented humans. He perceived the tactical landscape as patterns of energy, probability, and potential rather than merely physical positions. Execute the Falling Star Protocol, he ordered, his voice carrying to the other Nemesis captains through quantum-entangled communications that the Nevarans couldn't intercept. The human ships accelerated toward the heart of the Nevaran formation, each targeting a different section of the enemy fleet. From the Nevaran flagship, Supreme Admiral Zex Terrell watched with satisfaction as the primitive human vessels committed to what appeared to be a suicidal charge. They recognized the futility of resistance, he commented to his command staff. They choose honorable destruction rather than surrender. His satisfaction turned to confusion as the human ships began executing maneuvers that violated known physics. The unconventional solution phased partially out of normal space, appearing to stretch impossibly before snapping back into reality behind a Nevaran heavy cruiser squadron. The human spirit seemed to split into 3 identical vessels, each engaging a different target before recombining. Impossible, Zex Terrell hissed. Target all weapons on the human flagship. 100 Nevaran vessels focused their firepower on the Humanity's Resolve, only to hit empty space as the ship executed a phase shift that placed it directly in the midst of the Nevaran command vessels. The human ships continued their seemingly suicidal plunges into concentrations of enemy vessels before phase shifting to new positions, causing Nevaran ships to fire upon their own allies in confusion. The Humanity's Resolve, its hull breached in 17 places from the few hits that had connected, executed a precision jump that placed it alongside the Nevaran command ship. Captain Meta, blood streaming from his nose and eyes from the neural interface strain, locked gaze with Zex Terrell through the view screen. You cannot defeat the collective, the Nevaran Admiral declared. We are eternal and numberless. Perhaps, Meta replied, his voice steady despite the blood running down his face. But today we will remove you from the equation. He initiated a controlled quantum breach, an experimental procedure never before attempted. The ship's phase drive core began to collapse in on itself, creating a subspace anomaly that grew rapidly, swallowing both ships and the entire Nevaran command fleet in a sphere of distorted spacetime. Throughout the solar system, the remaining Nevaran forces faltered as their command structure vanished. Without the hierarchical control they depended on, their perfect formation dissolved into disorganized clusters, their coordinated attack patterns breaking down into ineffectual individual actions. Lieutenant Chen, now the highest-ranking officer aboard the Lunar Command Center, stared in horror at the space where both Captain Meta and the Nevaran leadership had vanished. Was that planned? Admiral Rice's expression remained unreadable. Captain Meta knew the possibilities. Now we exploit the advantage he's given us. As the battle raged across the solar system, something unexpected happened. The crystalline ships of the Drell, long subjugated weapons engineers of the collective, suddenly altered their attack vectors. Their vessels, elegant geometric structures that refracted light like multifaceted jewels, broke formation and turned their advanced weaponry against their former masters. "We recognize the song of freedom in your methods," transmitted the Drell commander, their message translated through Earth's xenolinguistic protocols. "For 300 cycles, we have engineered weapons under duress. Today we choose to wield them for liberation." Aboard the Lunar Command Center, Admiral Rice watched in astonishment as nearly 700 Drell ships switched allegiance. "Coordinate with them," she ordered Lieutenant Chen. "Integrate their movements into our defensive network." The neural-linked defense network, connecting millions of human minds with battlefield data, rapidly adapted to incorporate these new allies. Engineers and tacticians worldwide adjusted strategies to complement the Drell's crystalline technology, which operated on principles entirely different from both human and Nevaran systems. "The Drell aren't the only ones," reported Commander Santos from the Mars defensive perimeter. "The Vashti auxiliary forces are standing down, and the Kalian support fleet is actively engaging Nevaran cruisers." Throughout the Armada, species long dominated by the Collective recognized an opportunity in the chaos following the command structure's disappearance. The Nevaran Empire had been built on subjugation, not loyalty, and the foundation was crumbling. In the midst of the battle, something impossible occurred. From within the subspace anomaly that had swallowed the Asterisk, Humanity's Resolve Asterisk, and the Nevaran command ships, a faint signal emerged. A quantum transmission on a frequency only Earth's ships could detect. "This is Captain Meta," came the weak transmission. "Partial survival achieved within subspace pocket. Nevaran command neutralized." The signal contained no video, only audio distorted by its passage through the anomaly's boundary. Scientists later theorized that the phase drag's collapse had created a pocket dimension where time flowed differently, where what seemed like moments to the outside world had been weeks of desperate survival for Meta. The image of his voice broadcasting from what appeared to be beyond death galvanized both human forces and their new allies. Lieutenant Chen ordered the transmission broadcast to all Earth vessels and ground forces. "He survived," whispered crew members across the fleet. The news spread rapidly, becoming more mythologized with each retelling. Captain Meta had entered the afterlife itself and returned with victory. The combined fleet of humans and former collective species executed a series of coordinated attacks developed through Earth's neural network. The Drell's crystal ships performed maneuvers impossible for material vessels, appearing to shatter into fragments before reforming at critical points in the Nevaran defense grid. Human vessels applied the lessons learned from the Nemesis fleet, adapting tactics in real time based on battlefield data. The remaining Nevaran forces, facing rebellion from within and innovative attacks from without, began to fragment into retreating splinter groups. Without their rigid command hierarchy, their tactical advantage collapsed. On Earth, billions watched through the neural network as the seemingly invincible armada broke apart. Children in classrooms, elderly in retirement communities, workers in factories, all connected to witness humanity's darkest hour transform into its finest. In the anomaly's heart, Captain Meta drifted in a space between realities. His consciousness had partially merged with his ship's quantum systems during the phase drive collapse, creating something neither fully human nor machine. Through this transformed awareness, he perceived the battle from perspectives impossible to describe in human language. "We are winning," he transmitted, his words carrying weight beyond their simple meaning. "Not just surviving, winning." The message reached every human vessel and installation throughout the solar system, carrying with it a certainty that transcended evidence. The tide had turned. The newly constructed Singapore space elevator hosted the most momentous diplomatic conference in human history. 3 months after the battle that became known as the Liberation, representatives from 27 formerly subjugated species gathered alongside Earth's leaders. The biological diversity of the delegates required impressive adaptations to the conference chamber: atmosphere barriers for methane breathers, gravity adjustments for high-density species, and translation matrices handling over 40 distinct communication methods. Ambassador Cathrell returned, not as a conqueror, but as the representative of a humbled species seeking a new path forward. His blue skin had paled, and his once imperious posture now suggested caution. The collective as it existed has dissolved, he acknowledged before the assembled delegates. Our leadership caste perished in the anomaly. Those who remain seek understanding rather than dominion. The chamber hushed as Captain Meta was escorted to the central podium. His appearance shocked many who hadn't seen him since his rescue from the subspace pocket. His physical form had changed. Silver traces like circuitry ran beneath his skin, and his eyes shifted between normal human appearance and swirling vortices of quantum energy. The integration with his ship's systems had transformed him into something new, neither fully human nor machine, but a bridge between realities. I have glimpsed existence from perspectives no human was meant to experience, he began, his voice carrying harmonics impossible for ordinary vocal cords. I observed the Neveran command structure from within and without simultaneously. Their rigid hierarchy was both their strength and their ultimate weakness. He gestured to the assembled delegates with hands that occasionally seemed to phase partially out of normal space. We could dominate, as you intended to do, he told the aliens, but humanity's strength comes from connection, not subjugation. Dr. Santos stepped forward, data projections forming around her. We propose the Solar Concordat, an alliance based on mutual advancement rather than hierarchical control. Each species contributes according to their unique evolutionary advantages. The Drell representative, a crystalline entity that communicated through light patterns, approached Meta. We engineered weapons for centuries. Now we wish to build something different. The signing ceremony lasted 17 Earth hours, accommodating the various biological and cultural requirements of the signatories. When completed, the Solar Concordat established frameworks for technological exchange, mutual defense, and cultural preservation across 28 species. The ceremony concluded with Admiral Rice unveiling designs for the new Alliance-class vessels, ships containing technical and cultural contributions from all member species. Where the Nemesis fleet had represented humanity's secretive response to threat, these new ships embodied open collaboration across vastly different evolutionary paths. The first vessel begins construction tomorrow, Rice announced. The Shared Horizon. As delegates departed, Captain Meta stood at the observation deck, watching Earth rotate below. Admiral Rice joined him in silence. "Will you command the Shared Horizon?" she finally asked. "I cannot," he replied, his form briefly shimmering with quantum fluctuations. "I exist between states now, but I will guide those who follow." 2 weeks later, the first Alliance-class vessel took flight, its hull shimmering with technologies no single species could have developed alone. Its crew included humans alongside Drell crystal mines, Vashti navigators, and even a young Neveran tactical officer, the first of his kind to serve alongside former enemies. As the ship accelerated toward the stars, its experimental drive incorporating principles from a dozen worlds, the quantum fluctuations around Earth rippled with possibility. The cosmos had presented humanity with extinction, and humanity had answered with inclusion. Captain Meta, watching from his quantum state that was neither fully here nor there, observed patterns in the universe that suggested this was not merely the end of one conflict, but the beginning of something far greater, a fundamental shift in the evolution of intelligent life across the galaxy.